Hello and welcome to part 3 of my prehistoric art series. This video will look at art from the Neolithic period, in particular from prominent sites in the ancient Near East. I will focus primarily on paintings, but the architectural discoveries at these sites are also notable. A broad time frame for the Neolithic period places its origins in Anatolia and the Levant at about 12,000 years ago, lasting till about 2000 BCE in places such as China and Scandinavia. As with the Paleolithic period, different date regions are seen in different geographical areas. What these sites do have in common is the development of animal domestication and husbandry, plant cultivation and agriculture, organized religion and social structures. This period occurred along with the Younger Dryas, a period of changes in global climate conditions that occurred between 12,900 to 11,700 years ago. In the Northern Hemisphere, regions experienced a sudden cooling. Some historians believe this cooling changed migration and settlement patterns to favor subsistence farming, leading to the Neolithic Revolution. This idea, as well as the cause of the Younger Dryas, are still being debated. Evidence suggests that the earliest sites found so far were built by nomadic hunter-gatherer societies and functioned as temples, not as urban centers. Many of these early sites occurred towards the end of the Paleolithic period, a transitional period from the Paleolithic to the Neolithic that occurred between 20 to 10,000 years ago in the Levant. As societies shifted to pastoralism and then agricultural practices, food availability increased, which in turn allowed for more time to be invested in material culture. Items such as ceramics, fiber arts, and later metalworking started to emerge. Large settled urban centers began to develop to accommodate larger communities, while also serving as protection for these populations. Some of the earliest known sites of human settlement are found in Anatolia, or modern-day Turkey. Bonkulu Tala, or Beaded Field, is a site that shows settlement from as early as 12,000 years ago. Excavations of burials at this site has unearthed adornments used as facial piercings found near the ears and mouths of the deceased. Dental wear on the lower incisors shows abrasion patterns caused by an ornament known as a labret, worn in the lower lip. These adornments were only found on adults, suggesting social customs linked to coming-of-age practices. Many other items of personal adornment, such as bracelets, necklets, pendants, and decorations for clothing, mostly animal-shaped, have been found here, along with a large number of beads, giving the site its name. Another site, Karahan Tepe, is dated at 11,400 years old and consists of a ritualistic complex as well as personal dwellings. The lack of evidence of farming practices at this site suggests that it was built by a hunter-gatherer and not an agricultural society. Its discovery suggests that early human settlement occurred before the development of agriculture, making agriculture the result of settlement, not the cause of it. Karahan Tepe is seen as part of a network of settlements in the area that had religious and spiritual importance. Religion and spiritual practice are what appear to be the reason for the establishment of the site, with planned-out circular rooms possibly used for rites of passage. Layout of the multifunctional structures suggests a complex belief system. Human imagery at this site is more abundant than that found at prehistoric sites, with a higher degree of naturalism and realism used in their creation. This suggests a shift in the way animals and humans were viewed from the Paleolithic period had occurred. Also found at these sites are T-shaped columns or stelae, which represent the human figure in an abstracted way. Most human imagery are male, with animal imagery including insects and mammals. Amongst the artwork found are freestanding sculptures of a vulture and of a male figure. The vulture sculpture shows detailed wings, eyes, and beak, while the human's figure's ribs, spines, and shoulder bones are emphasized. This sculpture is about 2.3 meters in height, large for sculpture of this time period. V-shaped markings around the figure's neck is reminiscent of a statue found in Upper Mesopotamia, now part of modern Turkey, known as the Urfa Man. The Urfa Man is over 1.8 meters tall and has pieces of black obsidian used for the eyes. It is dated at 11,000 years old, making it and the one found at Karahan Tepe amongst the oldest known life-size sculptures of the human figure found so far. Other animal imagery found at Karahan Tepe include other bird species, snakes, and insects, as well as parts of animals such as rabbits and gazelles. Göbekli Tepe, which translates to Potbelly Hill, is dated between 11,500 to 10,000 years old. This site is also compromised of circular structures and T-shaped monoliths or stelae, similar to those found at Karahan Tepe. Relief carvings of animals such as boar, leopards, dogs, vultures, and scorpions are among some of the imagery found on these monoliths. A life-size sculpture of a wild boar has also been found at the site. It was placed on a stone bench that was decorated with what appears to be a crescent, 2 snakes, 3 human faces, and an egg-shaped design. Black, white, and red pigment traces found on the sculpture makes it the oldest known painted sculptures discovered so far. At Çatalhöyük, dated from about 7,500 to 5,600 BCE, communal domestic structures with shrines have been found, with entry to the individual spaces being either through the roof or through holes in the walls, and not by traditional doorways. Buildings were grouped together with no streets between them. This allowed for fewer walls being needed to be built, while also provided better defensive advantages to the inhabitants. Many dwellings contained family or community shrines on a raised section of the floor. In one such room, a ceramic sculpture known as the Seated Woman of Çatalhöyük was found. This sculpture comprises a seated female figure sitting on a throne flanked by two leopards. The association to wild animals, as well as the rounded proportion of the figure, have led this figure to be interpreted as either a fertility image or that of an earth goddess. Other dwellings have decorated murals, such as a 10-foot-long wall painting that may or may not show the town along with the two summits of the nearby volcano Mount Hasan. The original mural was painted in red ochre onto the inner wall of a dwelling. I am doing a study based on the illustrated rendering found in the catalogue of the Museum of Anatolian Civilizations in Ankara, in which the artist had made use of black as well. This painting, if viewed only as a rendering of the mountain nearby, could be the first known landscape painting. However, as it also shows the village lying under its slopes, it can also be viewed as the oldest known map. A third way to look at it would be as a history painting showing an actual event, in this case the eruption of Mount Hasan. Scientists have analyzed samples from the volcano and determined that an eruption occurred between 9,500 to 8,400 years ago, close to the painting's estimated age of 8,600 years old. It is possible a painting, if viewed as being a volcano, shows this eruption. Alternative views to the interpretation of this painting have been put forward, pointing to the design being too abstracted to be clear in its subject matter, and that the volcanic peaks may actually be a representation of a leopard skin seen from above attached to a decorative design. Whatever this painting may or may not show, Mount Hasan was an important provider of obsidian, a material the residents of Çatalhöyük used to produce blades, knives, and even mirrors by carefully polishing a cut surface until it became reflective. The Shrine of the Hunters at Çatalhöyük is a room decorated with various murals showing different scenes. In one mural, a red stag is surrounded by stylized male figure which have unique features and are painted in red or pink skin tones. Black is used for hair and clothing. As no weapons are held by the figures, this scene has been interpreted to be a game where the animal is being teased. In contrast, the second mural shows a possible hunting scene, where a boar is surrounded by human figures holding nets, possibly trying to catch the boar. Other imagery of human figures include groups holding hands and a figure carrying a musical instrument. Additional animals that are painted include birds such as cranes, a dog, a snarling wolf, and a pink feline-like animal, missing either its back or its head, with its black claws shown. Bulls are also used as a common subject in Neolithic period, as was seen during the Paleolithic period. Part of the imagery in the murals from the Shrine of Hunters shows a large bull surrounded by diminutive human figures, one of whom appears to be jumping onto the back of the bull. Additionally, plastered skulls from bulls were used to decorate the main rooms of many dwellings. These were usually set into the east or west walls, or placed on platforms. These skulls were often painted with ochre and displayed together with other animal skulls, horns, teeth, and tusks. This practice of bucrania, or the use of an ox head for decoration, would become popular in classical Greek and Roman architecture. Some murals give insights into the burial practice and religious beliefs regarding the deceased that the occupants of Çatalhöyük may have practiced. Disarticulated human bones have been found buried under the floors in some dwellings, with skulls placed elsewhere in the shrines, some covered in plaster. This suggests a burial practice in which the bodies of the deceased were left out in the open, exposed to the elements and animals, with the bones collected and buried at a later stage. A mural showing a vulture hovering over two headless bodies may be a reference to this practice. Evidence of settlement in Jericho dates back to 10,000 BCE. At this site, plastered skulls dating to 8,000 BCE have also been found, which may be part of funeral practices of the time. As with Çatalhöyük, deceased community members were dismembered and the skull cleaned, then plastered over to create portrait-like effigies. Shells were used for eyes, and on some, paint was applied for facial hair. Physical traits appear individualized, suggesting an attempt to create a lifelike representation of the deceased, or an early attempt at portraiture captured in a mix of naturalism and stylization. Facial features were modeled from plaster and iron oxide, producing a skin tone-like coloration. Most skulls were from adult males, with some from women and children. These skulls were then displayed in a portrait gallery, suggesting a form of ancestral worship or belief in the preservation of life through the preservation of the individual. They could also have been made as a commemorative image, or as a substitute for the dead to ward off their return. In Amman, Jordan, at a site called Al-Ghazal, sculptural figures and busts made from reeds covered in lime plaster have been found. They were manufactured between 7,200 and 6,250 BCE. They were found buried in pits on the floor of excavated houses. These figures were intentionally buried, suggesting a possible votive belief system that saw these figures as representing individuals and the act of burial as a rite of passage to the afterlife. Most detail is given to the head, with the eyes outlined in bitumen, a tar-like substance. Some of these figures stand up to 1 meter tall, while some of the busts are two-headed. What sets the approach to subject matter in Neolithic art apart from art produced during the Paleolithic period is in the approach to style and concept. Human figures appear more often and in larger groupings, in varied poses and activities, and in different settings. The use of pictorial narrative also appears, and human concerns such as hunting themes, animal domestication, and social and religious interactions appear. How the human figure is depicted also undergoes a change from the stick-like approach found in cave paintings of the Paleolithic period. In a deer hunt scene at Çatalhöyük, for example, descriptive details are used to differentiate the hunters, such as different weapons. The head is drawn in profile and features such as the nose, mouth and chin are defined. The torso and limb remains frontal, producing a descriptive albeit inaccurate rendering, or producing an artificial composite view. Another distinguishing factor of Neolithic art when compared to Paleolithic painting is in the preparation of the substrate, with imagery now appearing on plastered walls in constructed dwellings and not on rock surfaces of cave walls. The smoother surface may allow for more cohesive imagery that conveys a narrative, as opposed to the irregular surface of the cave walls, which were instead used for the illusion of animal form. I hope you found this video informative. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching and take care.